your brain is tired. Your patience is shorter, your focus, it disappears halfway through a sentence, and somehow even simple tasks, they feel like they require a full staff meeting in your head. And this is not laziness. This is, that mental exhaustion. And right now, it feels like nearly everyone is running on a low battery, and that never fully recharges. And they're being drained by hundreds of tiny pressures stacked on top of each other. And every single day, it's the same thing. The notification, the bills, the work demands, family responsibilities, the bad news, the social comparisons, the constant decisions, the endless scrolling, the poor sleep, and the feeling that you should always be doing something productive. They're always pulling energy from the same limited mental supply. Your brain was not designed to process this much information, and this often was this little recovery. And we live in a world where silence feels unusual and that boredom feels uncomfortable. And the rest often comes with guilt. Even when people sit down, their minds keep moving. They check messages and think about tomorrow, replay old conversations and worry about the money and compare themselves to strangers online and mentally rehearse problems that have not even happened yet. The body may be sitting still, but the brain is still working overtime. That's me this week. One major reason people feel mentally exhausted is that constant stimulation. Every app, platform, headline, email, and advertisement is competing for your attention. Your brain keeps switching from one subject to another, and man, and every switch, it just costs energy. And you may feel like you are multitasking, but most people, most of the time, you are rapidly changing your focus, and that creates that mental friction. And you start one task, check your phone, answer a message, and remember another obligation, open a different app, and then try to return to the original task. And by the end of the day, you feel busy but not satisfied because your attention was divided into tiny pieces. And this is called attention residue. Part of your mind, it stays stuck on the previous task even after you move on. So you never really fully present or you're present at all. You're not. Another reason is decision fatigue. People make an incredible number of choices every day. From what to eat to what to wear to what to watch, what to buy, what to respond to, and what deserves your attention. And many of these choices, they seem small, but they add up. And when your brain gets tired of deciding, you become more impulsive, more irritable, and more likely to avoid them important choices. And this is why simple decisions can feel overwhelming at night. It's not because the decision itself is complicated, it's because your mental resources have already been spent. That financial stressor is another massive factor. When the prices rise, the bills pile up, and paychecks feel smaller, and the brain stays in a state of alarm, even when you are not actively looking at your bank account. Part of your mind is calculating, worrying, and preparing for the next expense. I get that from my mom. She's a money warrior. Chronic money stress makes it harder to concentrate because the brain keeps scanning for threats, and it's difficult to feel creative or patient or motivated when your nervous system believes danger is always nearby. Work has also changed in a way that keeps people mentally connected longer after the workday ends, too. Holy cow, has it ever? Emails arrive at night, messages come in on days off, and that remote work can blur the line between professional life and personal life. Even people who work in person, often carry their job home mentally. They replay mistakes, worry about the performance, think about the deadlines, and anticipate that conflict. And the workday may end on the clock, but it does not always end in the mind. And social media adds another layer because it creates that constant comparison. And you see someone else vacation, the new home, the perfect relationship, the successful business, the transformation or exciting life, and your brain quietly measures your reality against their highlight reel. You know, Even when the content is edited, staged, or incomplete, the comparison can still affect your mood. It creates that feeling that everyone else is moving forward while you're, falling behind. And that feeling is exhausting because it turns life into a race with no finish line. Bad news also reaches us faster, more frequently than ever. Humans once learned about danger through direct experience or local conversations, and now we absorb disaster, conflict, crime, arguments, and outrage from around the world before breakfast. The brain responds emotionally, even when the event is far away. And this does not mean people should ignore serious events. No. But consuming constant crisis coverage can keep the nervous system active. And when every headline is designed to create urgency, fear, anger, or shock, your mind rarely gets the message that it's safe to relax. It's been that way for a long time for me. Sleep problems make everything worse, and many people are not simply sleeping too little, they are sleeping poorly. They go to bed with screens, wake up to notifications, stay up worrying, or use caffeine late in the day. Man, it's like this message is for me today. You know, poor sleep it weakens your attention and your emotional control and your memory and decision making. And then the next day it just feels harder, and which creates that more stress, which makes the next night of sleep worse. And the cycle can make a person feel emotionally fragile and mentally foggy. And loneliness is another hidden cause. People can be surrounded by coworkers, followers, family members, and online contacts while still feeling disconnected. That digital communication is faster, but it does not always provide the same emotional recovery as an honest conversation with someone you trust. And when people feel unsupported, they carry their problems alone. That increased mental load because there's no safe place to put the fear, the frustration, or the confusion. Another problem is that modern culture treats exhaustion like proof of ambition. People brag about sleeping for 4 hours, working nonstop, and never taking a break. Rest is seen as a weakness. And while burnout is treated like a badge of honor, but the brain needs recovery. And just like muscles do, and without that recovery, performance drops. You make more mistakes, become more emotional, lose creativity, and struggle to enjoy things that once felt meaningful. So what can actually help? Start by reducing unnecessary input. You do not need to know everything happening everywhere at all times. Turn off non essential notifications, create periods where your phone is out of reach, and do one task at a time when possible. Give your brain fewer open loops by writing responsibilities down instead of repeatedly remembering them, and build simple routines so fewer decisions require mental energy. Protect your sleep by creating consistent bedtimes, limiting screens before bed, and reducing that late caffeine. And take short walks with headphones or without headphones. Let your mind experience quiet again. Spend time with people who make you feel safe instead of people who make you perform. And most importantly, stop treating rest as something you have to earn. Rest is maintenance. You are not a machine, and even machines overheat when they never shut down. And mental exhaustion does not disappear with one lazy afternoon because it was not created in one day. It improves when you consistently remove the pressure, restore the boundaries, and sleep better. Reduce the stimulations and accept that your attention is valuable. Everyone feels mentally exhausted right now because the modern life it demands constant access to our minds. The solution is not become tougher and at absorbing endless stress. The solution is to become more protective of what goes gets your attention. And what gets your attention and what gets carried into tomorrow. Thanks for watching. If you found value in today's video, please subscribe and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.